Wild dog problem here is huge. It's been ongoing and continues to be ongoing.
In the area, in the last 5 years, the predation has increased tremendously. Like the amount of dogs we've got out of the district in the last 3 years has been incredible.
It's extensive and it's vast. We record predation reports every month of all the wild dog groups. We record sightings off camera traps, sightings by someone just literally seeing them driving down the road, mauling of lamb, sheep, cattle, deaths, that sort of stuff. Since 2011 at least, we've got a fairly rigorous record of production or impacts of wild dogs on livestock producers, yeah.
Last year we lost around 140 wethers. 5 years ago we lost 110 wethers, started killing in November. We finally shot the dog in January, so you work it out.
It's interesting, the impacts for native wildlife can be twofold. One can be the direct predation of those prey animals, but also there's the distinct possibility that there is competition between the native predators, the spotted-tailed quolls, and things like foxes and cats, and also dogs. They share a lot of their diet. It's very similar. Swamp wallabies and possums are common in the diets of all of them. So there's a distinct possibility that the quolls are impacted just by the competition with the dogs, foxes and cats.
With the country we've got, like that high mountainous, rugged gorge country that we have on the tablelands, you know, with the Great Divide obviously on the eastern side of us, there's a lot of country we cannot physically get to readily by a vehicle or a motorbike or something like that. So aerial baiting, it's targeted in those rough, inaccessible type areas where it's not feasible to get out there by vehicle. So we put out over 3,000 kilometres at 40 baits a kilometre, so 120,000 baits. This program we're doing just now, it happens in a 2-week window, so we've got a mass coverage of aerial baiting coupled with the ground bait that happens in conjunction with it as well. So it's a good start to follow up the spring programs and the smaller localised programs for problem dogs afterwards.
Myself, I'm Vice President of the Wild Dog Association, also President of Leach's Gully. So the planning with me is coordinating all my neighbours into the baiting program, getting every indemnity signed, make sure they all understand what their responsibility within the program is, discussing with them the necessary involvement, because a hole in a baiting program is a place for dogs to go. So we need a fully coordinated baiting program to be successful. We can't do this on our own. It's bigger than us, so landholders are so critical in controlling wild dogs.
You know, we start this program in January, is when we start planning. So we sit down with each 26 wild dog groups, where there's 26 groups. We have individual meetings with them. We look at maps, we look at topo maps, we look at contour lines, we look at predation reports, we look at local farmer knowledge, satellite imagery, everything we can put our hands on, we look at that and we devise where we're going to actually put those bait lines. And it's important to realise that that doesn't happen we're not just drawing lines on the map for the sake of drawing lines, we're putting them where we do believe the dogs are travelling and there's a high chance of getting a dog. It is a big program and it takes a lot of planning. We have to be committed for the long term with it to have any success.
If you don't have coordination in the program, you get gaps where the dogs will go and breed, and you're virtually wasting your time.
This program works and it happens. You know, we know that we're getting 40 baits per kilometre, one every 25 metres, and it happens the whole way across the landscape. So we know that we know where the holes are, and we're trying to close those holes in every year by putting more aerial baiting or ground baiting programs in place. The bonus of it is that it's coordinated, it's broad scale.
It's definitely successful. Research has shown that we're getting over 90% of the dogs in the areas and foxes in the areas where we're doing this. So there's no doubt that it is successful, that in terms of asset protection and maintaining sheep in areas and the mental health of farmers that I'm working with, I've seen some massive gains. So definitely successful.
And what we're finding is if you want to get a good population of quolls, the only places where those exist still are where there's been long-term control programs for dogs and foxes.
It's very critical that it keeps happening, because there's a lot of producers here today behind me that have lost anywhere from 600 sheep this year down to probably some that have lost a couple of hundred. Off the top of my head, I can tell you there's been 1,500 sheep taken out of the Tenterfield district in the 12 months.
I would hate to think if we did nothing, I think we wouldn't have any sheep producers on the tablelands. Yep, and it's going to go to cattle. You know, we're already getting cattle reports of predation, and You know, fellas up around northern Australia, they're getting really minimal calving percentages, and that'll happen here as well. And we're already starting to see that in some areas, particularly where sheep numbers have really declined in the Wonkwabinda area, for example, where there's a lot of people gone out of sheep. And the cattle producers starting to see, not see a lot of impact, but their calving percentages are going down. So it's a fairly direct correlation, I think.
So where you don't have control of dogs and foxes, you're likely to lose some of these iconic threatened species as well. So it's a pretty important process for not just livestock protection, but also environmental protection.
If we did nothing, it would be a disaster. We would have certainly no sheep on the tablelands, and we're having impacts on cattle as well. And once all the sheep are gone, then we would end up in the same situation with the cattle producers. One of the producers I'm recently working with has just lost 8 calves to, in this local area in Tenterfield. So it would be a massive downhill, both environmentally and agriculturally. And ultimately there would be no future for our children in the Northern Tablelands.